welcome to the collapse experiment. I need coffee. Okay, now that that's taken care of, not feeling the greatest, have a slight cough, some congestion going on in here. I'm guessing I caught whatever my daughter had earlier this week, but the show must go on. So let's do this. So earlier this week, while my daughter was sick and I wasn't really producing any videos, it felt like a time where there wasn't much news. Things weren't happening. Almost started to feel good about things again. And then there was yesterday. And of course, when we're not hearing about stuff is when stuff is happening. And there's quite the list of yeah, so the UN wants to send a peacekeeping force into Ukraine. And along with that, they also want to do a no-fly zone over certain cities, which is pretty much a declaration of war. So aside from aircraft, I'm not sure what a no-fly zone would actually accomplish these days, considering the number of armed unmanned drones, the hypersonic cruise missiles that Russia is now using, the thermo bomb that they actually detonated and tried out for the first time, which according to some people is illegal. Yeah, the whole notion of like legal and illegal acts during war. It sounds great after the fact. Like, hey, you did this thing 3 years ago during this conflict. We're going to spank you on the butt. And it's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to drop a thermo bomb on their country as like retaliation for like this illegal thing they weren't supposed to do? I don't understand the logic here, but they're saying like that was illegal. Okay, the dude's invading a country. I don't think he gives a shit. So if things weren't bad enough, our people decided to make things even worse by saying that we're going to put sanctions on China for helping Russia bypass the sanctions that we put on them. Because, you know, we're not about like free trade or anything. Hasn't been our policy for forever. Yeah, so that was... yeah, go ahead. Sanction China, because, you know, who's that going to hurt? Just everybody who shops at Walmart. I mean, definitely not your election base, so what do you care? This whole idea of, yeah, oh, you're selling stuff to Russia, and we said that you couldn't. Again, this kind of goes back to the whole, like, that's an illegal act thing. Like, who are you to tell these people what they can and cannot do? I think it has more to do with the fact that China and Russia agreed to trade oil in their own currencies instead of using the US dollar, which they also came to an agreement to do that beforehand with Iran years ago. I believe it was, 2016, 2017, they came to that agreement. And yeah, now that Russia and China are interacting amongst themselves, the U.S. has absolutely zero involvement in any transactions that they have. Good times. I think that's what it really comes down to. I don't think it has anything to do with the China giving arms or anything to Russia. Russia hasn't even used their good stuff yet. They have that sitting on the sideline waiting to get put into the game. And I am starting to think that Ukraine is not even their main objective. I think they're waiting for other people to get involved, and then they're gonna, you know, make a few phone calls, and then their guys, the real the real deal is gonna start rolling in, and it's not gonna be in the Ukraine. Let's see here. China, they now have, if you go onto Google and you try to look at their bases in the Pacific, those islands that they built, it's blacked out. Can't see shit. So obviously they're wanting to keep whatever they're doing over there secret. Probably some troop buildup. Odds are they're looking at going into Taiwan. Uh, if I was looking at Joe Biden being president, I would say I get to imagine you and your significant other have kids, and the kids are old enough to make mischief, right? You want to go out, take the wife out on the town. You hire a babysitter, right? Babysitter shows up and it's Joe Biden. What are your kids gonna do with Joe Biden being the babysitter? Okay, that's kind of what's happening right now. What kind of house are you expecting to come back to because Joe Biden's running things? I mean, there's a good possibility there isn't going to be a house to come back to because it freaking burnt down while you were gone. Whew. Okay. France is talking about giving out food vouchers due to shortages. I thought they only had bread lines in Russia. And Japan and Russia are fighting now, or arguing, or there's some kerfuffle on islands north of Japan that Russia claims, but Japan claims them. It's this back and forth they've been doing for over 100 years, trying to claim territory. I think it has more to do with fishing and boating than it does actual landmass, because we're talking like off the coast of Siberia. Really bad winters. Nobody lives there, from my understanding. I think it really just has more to do with securing fishing areas, and Japan's really big on that. That's a good portion of their diet. So, not surprised they would throw a fit about that. As for Russia, they're probably just willing to keep their military routes open, considering Alaska is like, 50 miles away from the other tip of Siberia. Good times. Yeah. Peacekeepers. Let's go back to the peacekeepers, shall we? Now, I don't think very highly of the UN. Overall, I think the UN is a useless organization that's really more of a crime syndicate who tries to bully and intimidate their way into other countries' pocketbooks, and they're also involved in quite a few other horrible acts. If you want to learn more, check out an older movie called The Whistleblower, about a woman who worked as a UN peacekeeper in Bosnia. Good times. There's already an issue of human trafficking going on in Ukraine. Ukrainian officials are telling people if you get into a car in order to cross the border with someone, take a picture of their license plate and the driver and post it online so that if you disappear, people have a way of following up to figure out like what the hell happened to you. That sounds comforting. So it doesn't surprise me that the UN wants to get involved and they want to help organize these green zones, these routes to get out of these cities that the Russians are opening up, where they're like, hey, we won't attack you. If you want to flee, take this road, go travel this way. We don't care how you do it. Just get the hell out of the city. Well, the UN wants to organize that now because they don't have a history of doing horrible things to people. That's also part of the no-fly zone. So I think there's a few things that are going to happen. One, some horrible shit's going to happen because you're going to have people from foreign countries coming into Ukraine. They have absolutely no no bond with the people that they're helping. So they're others. They're not like me. They're a commodity. So I think you're gonna find some horrible shit's gonna happen, like has happened in the past. I think these routes are also going to be used by the UN and other countries in order to have arms and weaponry going back into the country on these roads, which are protected by the UN, and Russia says we will not attack. So that's a great way to rearm Ukraine. And then you have um, then you have the possibility of either Russia attacking these roads, which the UN are going to be on, because they're going to find out, they're not getting people out, they're moving weapons in. So you have that possibility, or the possibility that the UN just fakes an attack and says Russia did it to have more involvement, maybe make the entire country a no-fly zone. And again, when you're talking about cruise missiles and drones, not necessarily jets, what I don't understand what a no-fly zone is actually going to do. There's a difference between what air superiority used to mean 20, 30 years ago and what it means today. And if you're talking about, because there was talk about having a Patriot anti-missile system, almost like the Iron Dome in Israel, setting that up in Ukraine. That never happened. Russia said that was a aggravation towards them, which I don't know, man. It just seems like if Ukraine never gave up their nukes in the 90s, thanks USA, a lot of this probably wouldn't be happening. But at the same time, it's obvious we didn't trust Ukraine with having them either. I really wish that we would just get out of other people's business and leave shit alone. But unfortunately, when times are good and you have absolutely nothing to really focus on because you have food on the table, you can plug stuff into the wall, your water is always clean. When you have zero concerns, you find something to focus on. And when it comes to the U.S., who's had it really good for a really, really long time, we now focus on other countries and the bullshit things that we come up with here. That's another issue we have. If we're not looking at somewhere else in order to bomb or fix with bombs, as our policy seems to be, then we look at things like I don't know, systemic racism, pronouns, chicks with dicks. The list goes on and on of things that just are not. They're not concerns. They're not anything that anybody in a first world country should really be thinking about unless we're really, 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 really fucking bored. And then that's our problem. That is the problem we have in this country, is that people are just too fucking bored. They have absolutely no purpose, no reason to exist that they can find. And so they clench onto this stupid ass ideology of this religion that offers them absolutely nothing, but in return says, you're racist, we have the cure, by the way, it doesn't work. It's almost like the COVID vaccine. Wow, that was exciting. I'm so glad that the people in charge are there to take care of all the things that are happening. Because, if anything happens to Biden, I'm glad Kamala's there to step up. And if anything happens to Kamala, I mean, we have Nancy Pelosi. Fucking shoot me now. Keep on typing.